Hi everyone, I'm Julie Riley and the name of my company is Chefs of the Future, a cooking school that comes to you. So welcome to my kitchen, and with love and creativity, today we're going to whip up a chocolate loaf surprise. By now, most of you know what the surprise is. We're going to, it's a zucchini chocolate loaf, and it's fabulous. You would think, oh my gosh, zucchini, but you know, we make carrot cake and that tastes great, so why not use zucchini? What we're going to do is we're going to take our loaf pan. I happen to have a very fancy loaf pan that someone gave me, one of my students gave me as a gift. I love it. So I'm going to use that. We're going to spray with the non-stick spray. We're going to spray the pan. I have to spray it a little extra because it has all these little nooks and crannies. I am also going to put a little bit of flour in mine so that those nooks and crannies, that it doesn't get stuck. So I think I'm going to have to take the pan and go around and isn't that a pretty pan? Really nice. Okay, so that's all ready to go. This is the first time I'm making this recipe. I'm so excited. So we are going to take a smaller bowl. I know that your recipe said take a large bowl, but it doesn't need to be. When you're baking, we have a bowl with dry ingredients and a bowl with wet ingredients. So we have the dry ingredients on the side. That's your flour, your salt, your baking soda, baking powder, in this case cocoa powder. And then in the wet bowl is the wet ingredients, and sugar is considered a wet ingredient because we mix all that stuff together. So it would be the applesauce and the sugar, oil, vanilla, and the melted chocolate. So we're going to take, now this recipe also has a cup of whole wheat flour. So it's going to be nice, not just all the white flour. We're going to take 1 cup of whole wheat flour into that bowl. And then we're going to take 1 cup of all-purpose flour into that bowl, same bowl. And then the next thing is our cocoa powder, which is 1/4 of a cup. And then I'm going to get a little spatula. And then we have salt, baking soda, and baking powder. Each 1/2 of a teaspoon. And that all goes into. Now it says to give it a little whisk. This is not, you don't have to whisk it a lot. It's just to mix the ingredients together. So you want to just mix it until it's one uniform color. You can even use a spoon to do it. So it turned from, yeah, now it looks like a nice taupey kind of color. See that? Okay. And we're going to set that aside. And we're going to move on to our wet ingredients. We're going to whisk egg, sugar, applesauce, oil, vanilla, and melted chocolate. So the first thing I want to do is I want to melt my chocolate. There's 1 ounce of chocolate. You could use the baker's chocolate. The original recipe said for unsweetened. I'm using semi-sweet morsels. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I'm going to put it into the microwave. I'm going to give it about 20 seconds. Get that. You only do chocolate when you're melting it a little bit at a time. You don't want to put it on for like 2 minutes. It'll burn the chocolate before it actually melts it. And you also want to use a glass container. You don't want to use plastic because plastic will burn the chocolate before it melts it. So even though I took it out, I'm just going to give it a little toss. So what's happening here is the glass is getting hot, and that's what's melting the butter. If you use like a plastic, like Chinese food container or Tupperware, what happens is the chocolate gets hot and it burns it. So, and that's why we do this 20 seconds at a time for a little amount. If you were doing a bigger amount, you could do a half a minute. But once it starts melting, it goes, oh, then you do for like 10 seconds at a time. I'll tell you a little, let's see. So this is still not melted, but my glass is hot now. So I'm just going to keep mixing it. If you can see that, and it's melting as I'm mixing it because the glass is hot, but I do think it needs one more 20 seconds. All right. Today when I went to start the recipe, I realized I didn't have applesauce, but I had apples in the house. So I just took the apple and I cut it up and I put it in a little pot. I put maybe a little quarter cup of apple cider or apple juice. I heated it for maybe 10 minutes, took it off the stove and put it into my Ninja and blended it and made homemade applesauce. So easy. I used a Golden Delicious apple. So here, so now it looks like it's half, but again, the glass is hot. You would put this on a table. Mrs. Riley's hands are used to the hot. So then when I stir it and you press the chocolate against the hot glass, that is what melts it. So that is ready to go. Fantastic. All right. All right, so 3 eggs. Remember when you're adding eggs to your recipe, crack them into a separate container. And then put them in your bowl. We do that because we don't want shells in our recipe, so we're checking for shells. Also, we're checking for if the egg is rotten or not, because if you had a rotten egg and you put it into your bowl, you just ruined the whole recipe. Now I've only had 2 rotten eggs that, oopsie, there goes some shell. I'm going to get that before I put it in there. 2 rotten eggs. One of them was actually recently. I cracked it and the white wasn't clear. It was very foggy like, so I decided not to use that. You know me, I like to have a wet towel on the side so I could always just wipe my hands or some baby wipes. So we're going to whisk the egg and the sugar and the applesauce. And the oil. And I love to use my spatula to get everything out. Vanilla. And our melted chocolate. This is going to be tricky. Let's see if we can get it all in there. I might have to use 2 spatulas. We want to get all that goodness in there. As I read the recipe too, if you have extra chocolate morsels, I think it would be fun just to add chocolate chips to the recipe at the ends. So we're going to whisk this together. See how we're using two different types of chocolate. All right. All right, and this is just until blended. Just want to make sure all the egg is even. Very good. And now we're going to add the dry ingredients. And most of the time, I like to add my dry ingredients a little bit. Like, don't dump the whole thing in, because that's how you get lumpy batter. Oh my goodness, that cocoa powder smells delicious.
This is a technique, isn't it? Isn't there a technique known as folding? We're using a spatula where you fold it in.
Well, folding goes like this around. You take over from the bottom and you fold it in like this. And stirring is this. Stirring, you go round and round. And whisking, you saw with the whisk, you do it really hard. So, nice. Wow.
Hey, that's starting to look like a cake batter.
It is, and it's done. That's Chef Dave.
Hi guys, I'm the cameraman. I'm just behind the scenes.
He's my cameraman today. Trying to get this down. This technological stuff. If any of you were good at all that, you should give me a call because I definitely need help. Okay, so I added that. And so actually, yes, that was stirring, Dave. We're going to come to a folding part in a second because I forgot one of the star ingredients. I didn't forget it. It's the next part of the recipe.
Oh, the main ingredient.
All right.
Yeah.
So, it's starting to combine. Then we're going to fold in zucchini and the nuts. I am not using nuts today, but you certainly can. I have 2 zucchinis just in case. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut off the ends. I washed my zucchini nice. And I am going to grate my zucchini into this bowl. So, as you all know, my mission statement is to empower children through food preparation, reinforcing math, art, science, and cultural awareness, bringing families to the table, showing them the ease of preparing a home-cooked meal fast, doesn't have to be processed, and finally, the power of showing families the power of sitting down to a home-cooked meal reaches far beyond the food that's on the table. I encourage you all to cook together, eat together, make new traditions. This nice fall recipe is great for Thanksgiving. You could share a new recipe. Not that we don't have enough food at Thanksgiving, right? But every once in a while, a nice new recipe. I like to do one new recipe for Thanksgiving every year. And switch it up.
So let me ask you a question pertaining to this recipe. This kind of is a combination, if you will, of savory and sweet.
Yes.
I'm liking it already.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The recipe isn't too sweet. It really does remind me more of like a carrot cake. Oh my gosh. My mother used to make carrot cake for Thanksgiving. It was the greatest recipe. I think it was a Martha Stewart recipe. And she would make the cream cheese frosting, and then she'd frost the cake, and then she would have like a bowl on the side of just frosting, because I think my nieces loved that. They would eat the frosting right out of that bowl. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take a clean towel, or you know what? I'm going to use paper towels. That's less messy. So I'm going to take some paper towels, fold them over like this, and I'm going to dump the, first of all, I want to make sure that I have 2 cups. I do. So that one zucchini was 2 cups. Get all that goodness out of there. All right, I love the rubber spatula. It really cleans the bowl. My kids hate the rubber spatula. When I used to make cake, they couldn't eat the batter because I got all the batter out of the bowl with the spatula. And we're gonna just fold this over, press down. So this is squeezing the moisture out of the zucchini. Because that extra moisture will change the recipe. That's fantastic. This zucchini actually was a little on the dry side to begin with, so I am going to put this in here. Put the zucchini in. Let me just clean up a little bit as we go.
Oh, okay, so now we're gonna fold.
Now we're gonna fold. So we have the zucchini and the batter, just like, especially like when you're making like banana bread, you want to just fold it gently just until it's incorporated, because it actually changes the, what is it called? What's that science term? Oh, I forgot it. Okay. Maybe I'll figure it out and then just put it in down below.
I'm just gonna throw out some words: texture, consistency.
It is.
Not too scientific.
Yeah, it's like the. I'll figure it out. And you just do it until it's combined. So folding, you go down to the bottom and fold it over.
Molecular. Never mind. I'll let that go.
Yeah, I'm letting it go for now. I know what it is in my brain, but it is kind of like the texture and the, yeah, it's kind of like the molecular composition
That's where I was going.
the batter, right? Because this is all science. So if you mix it really hard, you're going to change
the molecules.
It does.
It's
it changes
true.
everything.
Baking is a science. You're right.
All right. This is a lot of batter in here. Okay, let's see. Well, we're going to see how it comes out. And that. Our oven is on 325. And I'm going to pop that into the oven. I always like to put pan underneath anything I'm baking with a piece of parchment, because just in case it spills over, less mess to clean up.
Easy cleanup.
Yes, I'm all for the less mess to clean up. All right, and into the oven it goes. Alrighty, so I am going to take a pause. I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like when it comes out. Okay, so we baked that for 55 to 60 minutes at 325, and now we're going to take it out of the oven. Wow, look at that. It's fantastic. Now we're going to let this cool before we unpan it. So that would be maybe about a half an hour or so. Okay, we're back and it's cooled off. We're just gonna make sure that it comes off of the sides of the pan. You can use, I have a spreading knife that's plastic, so I wouldn't want to use a metal knife because that'll scratch my nice new pan. So I'm just going to make sure that it's really off the sides. And when we unpan something, we take the pan, we turn it upside down on top of our cake, and then we flip it. And moment of truth. Voila! Look at that. This has a little bumblebee. It has flowers. So the flower did make it. Next time I might try it without the flower, but I think it still looks pretty. All right, now I'm going to transfer this onto my pan. Or if yours will look like that. I think I'm gonna use it, yeah, we'll use it like this. So now I'm gonna slice it. Fantastic. Moment of truth. So moist, very delicious. Fantastic Thanksgiving loaf bread, chocolate zucchini loaf bread. So from our kitchen to yours with love and creativity, keep on cooking. Happy Thanksgiving and happy fall.